Right, there we are. We are on. Lone Morris, welcome to the Luke Farr Show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. And you look like a familiar face from 2 years ago, or maybe 3. And you doesn't look like you've changed. So you can't be working hard enough. You haven't aged at all. You literally look the same. I think I've aged more.
Thank you. I'm maturing, let's say. But thank you for that. Thank you for your kind words, especially after the long trip I've had just yesterday when I arrived from France, from Europe.
Yes, nice. Because last time we spoke, you were in Sydney, right? And then you've moved the family over to France. Where in France are you living?
We're in the southwest of France, in a really nice sort of area, a bit like the surfing area of France. Called Hossegor. So we're good.
Yes, well aware of Hossegor. I follow the WSL and all the surfers that have competed there. How good, love it.
Yeah.
When we were last speaking though, Lone, you were effectively CEO of ABL Digital Media. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right. Yep, that's correct.
Nice, very good. And now you've pivoted off. You've gone on to embark on your own journey, effectively. Yeah. You know, starting between 27 Degrees Media and then now formerly ABL Digital Media. So I guess, run us through, the last 3 years, what you've been working on, what partnerships you've created, and I guess how that transition's gone for you, because I'm sure there's many moving transitional parts to unfold.
So you're right. When we last spoke, I was CEO of ABL Digital Media. I had a fantastic time at Inc. and created a business that I was really proud of. Amazing team. It's not often where you look back into the places where you've worked and you're thinking, you know what, we created something really special. It had a really good, we created something really special with the people. We worked hard, but we also respected each other, and we had something between us. And when everything aligns like that, it's something that you want to recreate in a way. So when I left Australia, which was in late 21, after I decided to, as you said, move back to France with my husband, I was longing for that. I felt a part of me was missing, and I worked as a kind of like a contractor, and I was doing consulting, and it was great. When I first arrived, I did some different sort of tried to find my feet and did some little contracts and stuff, but I felt like something was missing, and I wanted to again work with clients, work with a good team, and I was like, well, I should start my own agency. And it's kind of like project, or that seed got planted a little bit, and then I was still chatting to some of the other guys that I used to work with, and I was like, oh my gosh, and everybody was like, we had something that was so special. Can we kind of recreate that in some shape or form? And I was like, oh, maybe we can, and then I was like, I don't know, this idea of creating 27 Degrees started to form in my head, and the business plan was done in a few hours, and I was very clear as to where it should be positioned and how it should be positioned, because I had finally this opportunity to maybe create something that I wanted to create and could not do. And I felt the strength and the time was right for me to do it. Anyway, so that's how the story, or that's how I decided about 27 Degrees. And then this idea, creating, this agency in Europe, seeing what was going on in the area where I was living, then merged into, okay, can I do that also in Australia? And so that's what happened. And then started, developing this. And I thought, okay, we need to have 2 different entities, and that's how we then this year created ABL Digital Media, which is essentially a little sister of French 27 Degrees, and we have really good sort of found a good way to have the 2 capabilities to merge as well and help each other. So that essentially gives us a really strong global footprint, which is quite something when you think about it as well, in terms of the fact that we are able to service Australian businesses in Australia, but also give them that really strong edge in Europe with that, all of the infrastructure, the people, the knowledge, and everything that's happening in Europe as well, including, you know, GDPR, restriction and legislations and all of that. So I essentially, you know, didn't make it easy on me because I'm pretty much working kind of around the clock, solid 12 hours a day to make the two businesses work and to service the two different countries and continents. But that ultimate goal of mine to be able to work and live in Europe and also work and live in Australia is happening, which is amazing. So
fantastic. Yeah. Really happy for you. Run us through just a little bit about the service offering, and then a little bit how you differentiate from the big boys and the big agencies, and you know how you're really setting yourself apart, whether or not that be because you're so lean and agile and able to quickly adapt. But yeah, just run us through a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right there. We obviously we are in that kind of like bootstrap situation beginning, you know, with the agency. But one thing that differentiates ourselves is the fact that, one, we've got an amazing experience that we've gathered along the years. I've got a very experienced team that have been working with me for years. So these are the people that used to work with me at Inc., some of them. And so we've got great team, great experience. We've worked together for so long that we know how we can get the best out of each other, which is a real strength whenever you think of it, because I'm based kind of full-time in Europe, yet I can work and manage a team based in Australia because we worked together for so long as well, which is awesome. So we do have great capability in digital media. That's always been our strength. So we've got amazing relationship with vendors, where they're unable to pass on that expertise and experience to optimize all our campaigns for our clients. But now adding that European touch and experience is able to give us a strong edge for clients here in Australia that want to sort of go into the European market or like do whatever they want there. So that's pretty great in that sense, that we're kind of dynamic, agile, lean team working here, but we're able to, you know, take those clients up on the journey to expand and really go on to across markets, which is awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. And if I was to do my homework right, like, you were once upon a time a TV presenter, correct?
Yes.
How good.
Just you to do your research right.
Oh, come on. Yeah, a good journalist has to dig into. They got to know what they're.
You know, whenever you go to those kind of those mystery kind of secret question, find something really that you don't know about somebody. That's like, I used to be once a TV presenter type of thing. Nobody is like, okay,
correct. And being a guest on a show, when a journalist does do all of their homework, you're like, have you been stalking me? But we're allowed to. So
it's good. And you need to dig up a bit, because that used to be on my maiden name. So good on you for doing the research.
Oh, right. Oh, there we go. It's all coming out now. The maiden name, lovely. But I do want to ask though, from like TV presenting, was there any transferable skills as to what you're doing now and what you've learned there, as far as sort of presenting and pitching to clients? And
100%.
Run us through a little bit about what you learned from the TV presenting days and how you've applied that to like now.
Yeah, I think it's that I'm comfortable with public speaking. So having that experience, having presented TV shows, doing live shows with audiences and things like that, I've got this ability to really be able to speak. And public speaking is I'm not afraid of it. I know how to handle myself. I can manage my stress level pretty okay as well. I mean, in the past I've had to address, do panels or present to a room full of 150 people. And that's something that I'm kind of like used to. So I can bring that learnings back to the team and really give them some tips on how to manage that and how to present and carry yourself. But then also that means that I'm able to build rapport pretty quickly with, clients. But again, that's something that a good salesperson, a good commercial person can do as well. But yeah, so there are some little things like that I'm able to do. You know, I don't exploit that too much, and I should a little bit more, like in terms of now being able to do your face camera type of marketing videos and things. But if I was to put my head to and then thinking, oh yeah, I should probably do that, I would, you know, it's something that I can do.
Yeah. No, fantastic. And when you were at Ink Digital as CEO, I imagine you weren't too actively involved in physically closing deals, or
no, still I
were. Oh, you were. Oh, okay, cool. Because I was just actually going to just sort of pivot and transition into, now that you're out on your own, I would imagine you're actually looking after the full sales cycle, right?
No, but it's funny you say that, because I had just before we caught up, I had a meeting as well with somebody else, and they asked me a really like a similar question in what the transition has been between what I used to do and now that I work for myself. Let's say it's my own business. And what I realized, Luke, is that how hard I worked and how hard I work now, it's pretty similar. And I realized that I used to be there for a very good employee, because I used to put my heart and soul into this business where I had no shares, like wasn't mine, but I was really treating it like mine. And so what I realize now is that, you know, I work, of course, still really hard, but there's not a great deal of difference. You know, when people say, oh yeah, but you work for yourself now, everything you do is for you. And I'm like, yeah, but I used to do everything for my people, and I still do today. So I don't always, so that's why when I was at Inc., I was still very much involved in closing the deal, in being with the team in the trenches, in being that commercial. And in actual fact, when you're a CEO, you are the one that, you know, drives the business as well, is driving that relationship at a really deeper level as well. So I never lost touch as to where the deals were being made, and I'm still not, like, you know, and I'm actually still in the trenches today. So so I think that it's similar in that way, because I always been a leader that leads from the front and being in the trenches with the team and working actively in the business, even when I didn't have any shares in the business. So
Right. Yeah, very fascinating. Lot to unpack there. When you're looking at like your trajectory to, you know, CEO at Ink Digital, out on your own now as an entrepreneur, like let's talk about the, you know, the budding and inspiring, you know, CEOs and entrepreneurs out there that are looking at you going, oh, how did she do it? What made her get there? Or like, what would be just some of the probably top 3 things that enabled you, or that you can remember and go, this is what I did to enable me to get to that CEO position, or this is what I did to enable me to go out on my own as an entrepreneur. Like, what are some of the things that really stand out for you going, these are the traits and characteristics you need to be in this position that you are today?
That's a great question. I think that the first thing was,
I didn't write that down either. That just came off the top of my tongue. But
yeah. So I think the first thing was that it actually gave me the permission to think about, I can potentially be, why wouldn't I at one point in my life have that title or be in that position? So that's the first thing, is that I actually thought, hey, you know what? Yeah, I can do that too. Like, whatever these people that have that C, you know, in front of their title do, I actually know I can do it. And I believed that, and I thought I could potentially make that happen, and I should actually make that happen, you know. So then after that is really, so first of all, I want to say it's just a title, for one. A lot of people just make make a lot of emphasis and stuff, but to me, it's just a title. It's the action that you and how you lead that really makes the difference. It's you know, that authenticity and how you lead and what you make happen. So second is doing the marketing academy, being able to access the marketing academy, which I did in 2019, was one of the biggest, most changing life milestone in my career, because it really gave me an amazing training and I made some really, I had a coach, I had an executive coach, and I had mentoring sessions, and we did a lot of leadership workshops, and it was a life-changing experience for me to give me that confidence and the last sort of bits and pieces that I needed to take that step as well, and prepared me for that next step. So that was a major thing. And then from there, it was about working closely and having people that could back me in that position and say, you know what, we believe in you, and we know you can do a great thing because you're already kind of there in a way, but we can enable that. So then after that, it was just having that external backing that really gave me the last push of confidence that I could do. And then keep learning, keep being like, asking questions, surrounding myself with people that were that I could feed off and give me some good advice whenever I was a bit, feeling stuck. So I think like you need to continue learning, do continuous learning, especially as you access those positions there, and give you the ability to continue doing what you can do and play on your strength. So having that confidence in yourself, and then after that, surrounding yourself with the right learning and the right people to continue backing yourself.
Absolutely. What do you think the executive coaches enabled you to do that you wouldn't have been able to do without them? What was the ultimate value that they were bringing to the table, Lone, do you think?
It's a good coach, you have that mutual trust, but they push you to really think about it yourself, about what you can bring to the table. So what they really did, this specific coach that I had for a few months, really helped me to give me a bit of a external view on my strength and what I can bring, and allow me to formulate exactly what I wanted and how the vision that I had and how I could execute on that vision that I had, one about me and my career, and second about the business I was trying to build. So when I then took this learning into my entrepreneurial endeavor, I was able to really sort of put that together to build a business that I wanted to build based on my values and what I believed in, and what I knew the world needed and what I knew I could bring to the world. So it's super powerful what I've learned and how I was able to take that into my own business building blocks. And it's interesting also to think about everything, like, now, with ABL Digital Media, everything is being able to do something. And even in our conversation, we're using that word quite a lot. And that's what I thought with this business, we are here to enable all of those success learnings, taking one business to a business to another level, and all of that. So it's got that really strong play on words but means something as well, So it's a really nice sort of progression on what I've learned and what I can now put in place into this business.
Yeah, I love that. And I am remembering, actually, Lone, last time when we did interview you at Ink Digital and you were the CEO, you were in a very professional boardroom-esque. And it's funny, now you've got sort of paintings behind you. And is this the new sort of entrepreneurial look that we're going for? Is this the change from corporate to out on your own, and you can just do what you want and no one can judge you?
Well, it's just because I'm not at home right now. I mean, in my work from home from anywhere type of scenario. So, But it's funny. I kind of like, one thing that I did change is finding that a little bit more work-life balance, moving away from, having to work with, like equity firm and board and all of that. I still work, I still have a board, but it's, there's a lot of trust in where wherever I am, I'm able to really work and do whatever I need to do. So, so we implemented a pretty hybrid working system, which works well for us with the team, where we catch up physically, obviously, but we also give a lot of flexibility in what people and how they work. So, yeah.
Yeah, nice, fantastic. Yeah. I want to track through literally your whole career, and we're going to talk about challenges just for a little bit. What if you were to look back and pinpoint the most challenging time for you, and how you overcame that, and the hows and whys?
Mm-hmm.
How would you unpack that? That could have been from anything from your sort of when you were actually, as working in the corporate CEO or out as an entrepreneur now. But I think literally the most number one challenging for you, regardless of what role you were in, and then how you overcame that. I guess whether or not that be something to do with self-belief or the people you had around you or the tools. But yeah, is there anything that stands out that you're like, whoa, I had a massive mountain to climb, and this is how I overcame that?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenge, if I look back, is moving on from Inc. and then saying goodbye to a 17-year career that I had built over time in Australia, to go back home to a very small country town, let's say, and starting from scratch again, basically, because I left France. I was in my mid-20s, and I've built all of this career, that nice career that I was very happy with and proud of in Australia, and I just pretty much threw all of that in the window, and we're like, hey, let's go to France and let's just see how we go, and
let's go be born again.
Yeah, and start something else. I don't know. And it was just how am I going to do that? And I had to really strap in and think, no, I've got to back myself. If there's one time in my life when I've got to back myself, it is that time. There's got one time in my life where I've got to prove, not to everybody, but to me, that I can do that and pick myself and implement all of the learnings into what I need and channel this to do what I want to do. That's the time. So it took me a few months to do that, but then I managed to take this, and as I said, take all of this learning and start my own sort of agency. So that was a challenge, of course, and that was one of the biggest challenges, to let go of everything and the formatting that I had and the sense of security that I developed and that I felt I needed in my life to perform, to say, you know what, I'm going on my own now, and Ghana is the safety net and the little cushy sort of environment that a corporate role will get you, where I felt like that's where I needed to be. Well, in fact, I'm actually good at also, because I've always been very self-driven, but I can also do that on my own and take that challenge on my own. So yeah, so that was a big challenge. And then after that, you've got the big challenges around running your own business and running your own show, and then, I don't know, trusting people around you and all of that. So yeah, but that's, I think, is part of that entrepreneurial journey of building, finding, how you're going to build that business, and learning along the way. And I am not there yet, but I'm, my corporate training has brought me some positives. Now I've got to implement that into this journey. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. With the just wanting to talk a little bit about self-confidence there, because obviously from TV presenting to you being a CEO of a company to you now out on your own being an entrepreneur, you've obviously got instilled in you as a characteristic trait a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah.
Where do you think that has come from, and how have you built on that? Anyone out there looking to achieve or climb big mountains has to have that within their characteristic ability. Yeah, where do you think yours has come from? Was that a childhood-based trait that got instilled in you from parenting, or?
I think I've got. I've always had. I feel like I'm kind of like a really resilient person. So I I feel like that comes, probably from childhood and the way that, I've had to rely on me only and not rely on other people to get things done. So I learned that along the way. And separate to that, I also, really think that some of the traits is about resilience, but also about values. And I've always had really strong values, and I had a really good sense as to my values and what I can bring. So and I never really needed validation from anybody around me to know what I can bring and my values, if that makes sense. So in that way, I've always been really kind of knew what I can bring to the table, and so then I had my doubts, of course. Can I make it? Am I going to be able to do it? But then I always know that by working hard and doing what I do, and then having my values, I can progress. So
Oh, fantastic. And you mentioned there about you've been on panels, you've spoken to big, large audiences before, and I'm sure, like any human, you get the pre-jitter nerves and the stress that comes with it.
Yeah.
What are some hot tips and tools that you can provide to the audience out there around how to just kind of keep cool, calm, and collected? I mean, I've been out there too presenting, and I generally have the anxiety come on. And as we know, right, when cortisol is released in your brain, your prefrontal cortex shuts off, and it's very hard to think and focus. But what are you doing to enable you to keep calm and deliver the best possible outcome?
Well, first of all, is prep. Like, you need to prep. You need to be prepared. I like to be prepared. If I'm prepared and I know which slide comes after which slide and transition and that rehearsing part, you can't not do it. Like, it's really, I feel like it's really important to do it. So that's one. And then when you feel that adrenaline rushing in, gotta breathe through it and know that you're prepared and that you've done it, and that's, going to be okay. And also, when you're speaking to a large audience, I always like to not look at someone specifically. Sometimes I would pick, but if you get scared because you see all these pair of eyes in front of you, just pick a point, like not someone, but a spot in that room that you can go back to and feel like, you're talking to that person, but they not necessarily somebody looking at you and just like,
Yeah. There must be quite a balance in that, with not being like, because that person be like, wow, she's really fixated on me right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Scanning every now and
sometimes you get clues, right? You get cues from people's, obviously, body language. So if it's not exactly what you're expecting, you're like, well, I'm not going, I can't look at that person. And then the other thing is really, I can do some jokes sometimes, but it's, if you're not that funny, don't try to be funny. Just be yourself. Like, just don't try to impress people by being funny or cracking a joke where, in fact, it's not going to come out right, because that's not who you are. So stick to what your personality is, like, so that's, I think.
How would you describe your personality?
I think I'm pretty real. Like, I can be comfortable pretty quickly in getting my personality to come out. So, but I don't know, I'm not the person that's going to crack jokes all the time, but I can be pretty witty sometimes in certain situations. So, I just feel like I'm pretty real, I'd say.
Yeah, nice, fantastic.
I don't know, how would you say what my personality is, considering you're interviewing?
Oh yeah, very quick-witted, articulate, communicative, but also you can do banter. I think you got a high level of emotional intelligence. Yeah,
thank you.
That's how I describe that. Yeah. What else would I say after the?
That's enough. That's good.
Hang on, we've only spent total duration of time. I always love data, right? We've only spent 2 hours virtually. But I've never met you in the flesh, so it's very hard. But isn't that's an interesting topic? In fact, I'm going to segue into this. It's so funny. with mainstream media and how we all have such a heavy opinion on someone, i.e. Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, like with the election right now, anyone in the public eye, we all just literally have an interpretation of them based on the media that's delivered to us. But we've never met them. We've never sat down and had a coffee with them, never had dinner with them that's longer than a coffee. We don't know really, like we know about 0.5% of that human, but yet we're the biggest judges of that human.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's fair, right? Because we can all hate on Trump, but it's like, yeah, okay, fair enough, but that's all we're seeing. We're only seeing a small part.
Yeah.
We're in a very judgmental world, and that's based on mainstream media. But that's the power of their manipulation.
It's always been the case, right? It's just that now it's further amplified through social media. But people always had an opinion. It's just that we didn't know so much about it the same way we know about it now. Like, you know. So it's interesting, right? Because when I used to be on TV, people thought they knew me as well, but I didn't. But I didn't care because I knew who I was.
And I'm sure. Yeah, that's an interesting topic too. Like, how did you deal with all of that judgment? I'm sure you would have. We all have our haters. I mean, this show's been running for 5 years. I've got my haters. Like, how have you? I literally look and I say the same thing. I go, well, they don't know who actually I am. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you can look at yourself in the mirror and know who you are, and your friends and family know that you are that kind of person, what would you care about what somebody else would think that you don't really rate anyway? So, you know, at the end of the day, if you're confident about who you are and what you're doing, who cares? So for me, it was the same. Luckily, at the time, there was no social media, that much, because that was a while ago. So I didn't have to suffer too much from bullies and haters and things like that. But nonetheless, I wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but it's also, I'm never going to be, and nor do I want to be everybody's cup of tea. I'm fine with the fact that I don't have to, again, have the validation of everybody on who I am and what I'm doing. But I know,
and that's a good point. Like, sorry to interrupt you, but that's fascinating too. It's and also so unrealistic for someone to think that they're going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's like, isn't that the most unrealistic ideation possible? Like, no, we're not. This is the thing. People, I think, generalizing here, but I think some humans do feel as though that they are going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that they can be a people pleaser and get everyone to like them, trust them, understand them.
Yeah.
Like, no, like that is not going to happen.
No, that's what I mean, I try to teach my daughter. It's like, you can't, like, nobody, it's unrealistic, and you shouldn't want to please and be liked by everybody, because you can't. It's not. And the moment you let go of that, then you don't crave those likes on Instagram or on social media. You don't crave that validation, because ultimately you're not doing it for that, But it's true. Some people can be addicted to that because they feel they really need that validation. So.
I'm 100%. Yeah. Is there anything, and before we wrap this up, because I'm just mindful of time, but look, is there anything, I find it quite fascinating, that you've instilled in your child, your daughter, that you've actually learned out of the corporate world, like some sort of lifelong wisdom-based lessons that you've said to her that you actually did learn yourself in the corporate world, or is it social-based stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if it's corporate world, but it's more the world that I'm, like the industry that I'm in, social media, for example. So I'm absolutely against her having a phone. I'm very well aware of the algorithm and how everything works, and time spent on apps and platforms, and how the algorithm work for you to. It's a what do you say? Like, bottomless kind of like pit, so
zero sum game.
Yeah, so that's why I teach her about that. I'm very well aware of, her brain is not developed yet to handle the addictive side of social media, especially when you're not having your strong self-belief yet, that is, or your your own self being strong enough to handle that. So I don't want her near any devices in that way. So that is something though that I take from my work and from my environment and the industry that I work in, that I take into my the teaching for my daughter. So
oh, fantastic. That's so good to hear. Yeah, because after listening to neuroscientists, like our prefrontal cortex or adult brain doesn't develop till 18 to 22, right? But everything before then, the subconscious traps that in and is very, very powerful for how they will play out the rest of their lives.
So did you hear that in Australia, I think Albanese wants to ban social media for kids under 16? It's not a bad thing, because all the studies point out to the fact that they don't have yet their brain totally developed to be able to handle that constant influx of information and validation and social media and how it works. So, yeah.
I think that's an absolute fantastic thing to do. I mean, suicide, anxiety, depression, suicide rates, well, here just specifically in New Zealand, I mean, we had the second highest youth suicide rate in the OECD. But the stats have jumped, though, Lone, based on the implementation and deployment of social media. That stat just goes through the roof. And, I love that policy. That would be fantastic. And that would lower that stat if they can't access social media until...
At least it's something. It's something to help, get their youth back and getting outdoor and playing and, like, doing things that they should be doing.
Yeah.
And not feeling isolated in their room, thinking that everybody else has a better life than they do, because that's all they see on social media.
Just straight highlight reels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So, look,
Hey, fingers crossed. Hey, Lone Morris, thank you so much for coming on the Luke Farr Show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. And you certainly do that every time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you. I'll just hit stop record. We'll do a quick debrief.